Daniil Medvedev may not have gotten the result he wanted at his latest major opportunity in Melbourne, but that doesn't change the fact that he remains the most successful male player of his generation and the only non-Big Four player among the current ATP top 10 to have a Grand Slam title. In this video, we look at the extent to which competition load played a role in getting Medvedev to what has so far been the milestone of his tennis career. Load is an uber-loaded term in sport that is much used but has no consistent definition. Despite the lack of consensus about the best definition for load, the cumulative wear and tear it aims to capture is still an important and useful quantity to try to quantify. In an earlier video, we explained the load measure for tennis, competition load, which is the in-event cumulative time on court. Time is a crude measure of load as it doesn't take into consideration the biomechanics of what is happening in play. Still, it has the advantage of being known for every pro match, which makes it easier to analyse. So, what is a typical competition load at a Grand Slam? Considering men's matches at the majors between 2011 and 2021 and making no differentiation by surface, we can see that the usual competition load by the quarter-final is between 7.5 to 10 hours, by the semi-final 10 to 12.5 hours, and by the final 12.5 to 15 hours. Just the progression we would expect when the average men's slam match is 2.5 hours in duration. What are the consequences for those competitors who end up with an above-average load at a given round? A regression analysis of the last 10 years of men's match results at Grand Slam shows that even after adjusting for the quality and competitiveness of a given matchup, players with a greater than average load are less likely to win a match than if they had spent less time on court. For every hour of load more than the average, a player's odds of winning a match drop by 5.6%. With Nadal's title at the recent AO, we can now say that the 2021 US Open was Djokovic's one chance to be the first to 21 major titles, and most thought he was a shoo-in for that achievement. Yet Medvedev not only quashed that historic possibility, he did so handily, not even giving Djokovic a set. So how did he do it? A look at the load progression of Medvedev, Djokovic and each of their second-week opponents makes a compelling case for load playing some, and perhaps a key role. The table below shows the situation for Medvedev. First, facing the qualifier and surprise quarter-finalist Botic van der Zandschulp meant he went up against a player with the highest competition load in the tournament, van der Zandschulp having more than 5 hours more load by the quarter-final in comparison to the slam average. The semi-final continued this trend with Felix Auger-Aliassime, who entered the semi-final with a load that was higher than 86% of major semi-finalists. Finally, Djokovic himself was under a massive amount of load owing to several surprising struggles in the first week of the US Open. By match number 7, Novak had racked up 17.4 hours of match time, a load greater than 93% of men's Grand Slam finalists over the past decade. This graph shows the implications of these load histories for Medvedev's win chances. Medvedev was the strong favourite for both the quarter-final and the semi-final based on his talent alone. Yet his wins in those rounds were a near certainty when we account for the load effect. What about Novak? Looking at his second-week opponents, we see that Berrettini was the only one who might have been struggling with any load effects heading into the match. Zverev and Medvedev were, on the other hand, comparatively fresh for an opponent in the semi and final stages of a slam. In fact, each are among the 20% of slam competitors with the lowest load at their respective rounds. This entirely different experience through the draw had the biggest impact on Novak's chances versus Medvedev, changing his expected win prediction from 71% to 68%. Thus, the load story that emerges is one where Medvedev got an effective boost in each of his second-week matches, whereas the opposite was true for Djokovic. And although the shift of a few percentage points in a win prediction might seem trivial, when the competition at the top of the men's game is as tight as it is in men's tennis, these changes do matter. What about the Australian Open final? By the finals, Nadal had accumulated 17 hours and 4 minutes, largely due to a 4-hour battle against Shapovalov that probably should have ended Nadal's run in the quarter-finals. Medvedev had a similarly tough journey to the final. Curiously enough, it was another top Canadian, Felix Auger-Aliassime, who gave him the most trouble in the quarter-finals in a match that lasted 4 hours and 42 minutes. By the final, Medvedev was at a whopping 17 hours and 29 minutes of competition load. In the case of the Australian Open final, the high loads Nadal and Medvedev went into the final with would suggest that neither was especially favoured nor disadvantaged in this regard. This adds more context to the huge physical toll both players displayed in the 5.5-hour epic. Yet another reminder of how even a slight edge can make the difference at the top of the men's game.